Nedarim Daf Dalid begins the seventh perek of the Masechta. It begins with a Mishnah, and it's the only Mishnah for the Daf, and it discusses the topic of what's included in a species of things. If you have to ask if something is included, does that mean that it's automatically included, or does that mean that it is not included? So the Gemara begins by discussing, are pumpkins included in vegetables? Is that a type of vegetable or not? Now the Gemara is going to point out it's not a vegetable. It's a vegetable is defined as a green, a leafy thing, or something that's got seeds on the outside. You can't define a vegetable. There's no way that a pumpkin's a vegetable, but the Gemara says it does have similarities to some extent, and therefore there's a possibility that it'll be included and the possibility that it's not. Now, the Mishnah says that it's a machokes. The Tanakama says it is not included, and therefore if somebody makes an isser on vegetables, does not include a pumpkin, and he's mutter to have the pumpkin, and Rabbi Kiva says that it's also because it's included. Now, what's the discussion between them? The discussion is if he sends somebody to the market to go buy vegetables and he can't find any, he will come back and ask the one who sent him, I found pumpkins, do you want me to buy those or not? So on the one hand, he will ask. He's not going to ask, I found beans, because he knows beans aren't vegetables. On the other hand, he's going to ask. He's not going to assume that, hey, I was sent to buy vegetables, therefore I could buy the pumpkins. So in a sense, it's included, in a sense, it's not. So Rabbi Kiva says, from the fact that he's willing to even ask means it's included enough that it counts as a vegetable, and therefore it's also if somebody makes an isser on vegetables. According to the Tanakama, the fact that he has to ask means it's not a vegetable, and therefore it's not included. Now the Mishnah concludes, and it says that if you have a bean called a pul hamitzri, so as long as it is moist, as long as it's still fresh, that counts as a vegetable. Once it becomes dried, now it's already a grain, and therefore it's not included at all. So the Gemara asks, the Gemara begins, the Gemara says, a pumpkin's not a vegetable, how could there be any tzad? What does it have to do? You ask, you don't ask. What does that have to do with anything? So the Gemara is talking about a case where the language is extra. He used extra terms to include an additional type of thing, of food, which is a stretch to call it a vegetable. So what is that? What did he say? So the Gemara first says, Ula says, he said, I'm asering vegetables of the pot, yarke kedera. So that extra phrase is to include pumpkins, which are also put in a pot, even though they're not really vegetables. So Gemara says, how do you know that's what it means? Maybe it means garlic and onions, which are put in a pot, even though they're not vegetables. No one eats them, but they're put in a pot to cook in the pot. So the Gemara says, okay, no, he said something more than that. He said vegetables which are cooked in a pot. That is including something even more than just the basics. That's including something else more than onions and the garlics. And there you have the discussion. Rabbi Kiva says, since a shliach will ask, do you want me to buy that? As if you wanted vegetables, therefore they are included. And according to the Tanakama, you cannot include those because he will ask, therefore they don't count at all. Now the Gemara says you find a similar discussion in a different sugya, and that's the sugya of me'ila. The halacha is if somebody sends a messenger to go take something or serve something to the guests, and the thing that he served was hektish, so he stole it from hektish, there's an isser me'ila. The question is, who did the isser? Is it the one who sent him, or is it the one who went and actually did it himself? So the Mishnah there rules that it depends if he's following instructions. If he followed instructions accurately, then it's the sender. If he did it on his own, he didn't follow instructions accurately, then it's his own fault. So the Mishnah gives examples of each of them. So it says, Rav Chisda brings the Mishnah and says this Mishnah doesn't fit with Rabbi Kiva. Why? Because it says if the instructions were give meat to the guests and he gave liver, or if the instructions were to give liver and he gave meat, so that's called not following instructions. Liver and meat are not the same thing, and therefore he didn't follow instructions, and the shliach, he's the one who is liver. He's the one who's a ma'al. So now the Gemara assumes that if you send somebody to the market to buy liver, he may say, I couldn't find liver, I found meat. Or if you send him to buy meat, he may say, I couldn't find meat, I could find liver. So therefore, it's the same thing as the relationship of pumpkins to vegetables. And yet, you see over here clearly that it's not considered to be the same min. It's called not following instructions. And therefore, Rabbi Kiva should disagree with this. Rabbi Kiva should say, no, it is the same, and therefore the isser is on the Baal Habayis. Says the Gemara, Abai says this is not a kasha. Rabbi Kiva would agree over here that this is called not following instructions. It's not the same halacha me'ila as nedarim. Why? Because Rabbi Kiva says the shliach does have to ask. If he goes on his own and he assumes that this is included, that is him going out on his own. That's his own decision, and that's not called following instructions. Now the Gemara says that they said this over the Rava, and Rava proved. He said Abaya Nachmeni. He referred to him. He said well. He said a good pshat. Now the Gemara says, who is the Tanakama? Who is the one who argues on Rabbi Kiva here? So the Gemara says it's Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The Gemara brings a brisa that has a machakas between a Tanakama and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The Tanakama will fit with Rabbi Kiva, and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel will fit with the Tanakama in our Mishnah who argues on Rabbi Kiva. So the brisa says as follows: somebody makes a neder, asering meat. So what is included? So the Tanakama, who's going to fit with Rabbi Kiva, says it includes regular meat, head, feet, trachea, liver, heart, and fowl. All those are included, so you see that liver is included, like Rabbi Kiva would say, since the shliach would potentially ask, hey, I couldn't find meat, should I buy liver? That's included. Therefore, this is Rabbi Kiva's opinion. Now, Rabbi Kiva continues, or at least the Tanakama here, who we're saying fits with Rabbi Kiva, continues, and he says, however, he's permitted to, the iser that he made on meat does not include fish and locusts. Now, Shimon ben Gamliel says that in this case, it includes all types of meat, such as head, feet. It includes all types of meat, but it does not include head, feet, trachea, liver, heart, fowl, and it certainly does not include fish and locusts. So that's the opinion of the Tanakama in our Mishnah, who fits with the Shimon Gamliel here, that liver is not included, and again, that's an example of something that the shliach would ask. The Brisa continues and says, the Shimon Gamliel also would say, innards, intestines, are not meat, and anybody who eats them is not human. Says the Gemara, what's relevance of that? You're saying you're not human. It means to say that somebody who charges the price of meat for them did not fulfill any shita. There is no such opinion that that's a normal thing, that that's meat. And even if somebody says to me, I consider it meat and I charge the full price of meat, his das is batel. It's not considered to be a real position. The Gemara now asks, Agav, what's pshat in the Tanakami here, that he says that the iser of meat includes chicken, includes bird meat, fowl, but it does not include fish. Why should there be a difference? Both of them are something that the shliach would ask. If he couldn't find meat, he would say, he would ask, should I bring chicken? And if he couldn't find meat, he could say, should I bring fish? So Gemara offers two similar answers. The Gemara says that it's referring to where the person who made the neder could not eat fish. And therefore, he wasn't thinking about fish when he made the neder. It was not on his mind at all. He was only thinking about regular meat and fowl. Now, why couldn't he eat fish? So the Gemara tries two options. The Gemara first tries, Abaye tries, that he just had bloodletting, and fish is bad for people who let blood. So the Gemara asks, well, fowl is also bad for people who let blood. Not supposed to have that either, and therefore this doesn't answer the question. The Gemara brings proof that it's bad. The Gemara quotes Shmuel, says somebody has bloodlet from his shoulder and then eats meat of a bird, will have his heart fly away like a bird. You have a brisa that says you should not bloodlet on, meaning having eaten and then eat fish or fowl or salted meat. If another brisa says that somebody who lets blood, he should not eat milk, cheese, eggs, cress, birds, or salted meat. So Gemara says, all right, maybe we could defend this, that the birds, you could eat fowl, even if you had bloodletting, by cooking them, or by undercooking them, or even overcooking, whatever shliko means is again in some chokes we showed you. However, fish you cannot eat under any circumstances, therefore fish he did not have in mind in his neder, but bird meat he does. Now, Abaye gives a different answer. Abaye says that it's the Hagai Sabach changes this one to Rava. He says that the pshat here is that the guy who made the neder was suffering from eye pain, and fish is bad for your eyes, so therefore he wouldn't eat it. So Gemara asks that Shmuel says that fish is good for your eyes. If somebody has eye pain, it'll be healed, because it says nun samach ayin. The aleph base has the letters nun samach ayin in a row. Nun means a fish. Samach is like sama, meaning it's a medicine. Ayin for the eye. So fish is a medicine for the eye, so you should eat it. So says that's only if he's already past the acute stage, he's already on the mend, then fish will help his eyes get better. However, if he's in the beginning of the sickness, then he should not, and therefore that's what we're talking about, is the beginning of the sickness. That's why he can't eat fish, and so fish was not in his mind. He did not have in mind to include it when he made a neder asering